even if she is a Democrat or even if she ascribes to leftist politics. Does it really matter that she's a liberal on paper if she's willing to go ahead and throw all of those beliefs away to sit across from the Kushners so her husband allegedly could get a casino?
Let's get started.
Okay. Hello and welcome to the Dummy Show. Today we're going to be talking about the Carters and why the Carters won't save you. We're going to be primarily focused on a picture that recently came out of the Carters sitting with the Kushners and the Trumps. And I wanted to talk about this because it ties into a video that I'm working on where it talks about how black capitalism, especially black hip-hop capitalism, has kind of failed us in this moment when it comes to Donald Trump and fascism. So if you're interested in any of that, please go ahead and like this video and subscribe to my channel if you would like to engage in conversations where we discuss the intersections between politics and hip-hop. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Again, as mentioned, I am working on a larger project, so I may go ahead and incorporate some of those comments and questions into that video as well.
Let's get started.
So before I start actually breaking down a lot of the different aspects about this picture and how they tie into the larger issues that we're seeing in America and in the world, I want to go ahead and just give my first reactions to this picture. When I initially saw this picture, I was genuinely shocked. And I wasn't shocked because this picture exists. I was shocked that this picture got out. Because usually when I think about the Carters, I think about really good PR. Right? But let's go ahead and actually discuss the picture and how that ties into some of the stuff that we're seeing in America and in geopolitics overall. So the picture itself, you have Beyoncé and Jay Z sitting alongside Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump. And obviously, what the fuck? Because if you remember in the 2024 elections, you saw that Beyoncé was campaigning with Kamala Harris. And one of the biggest moments in that election for a lot of wine moms, the fact that Beyoncé allowed Kamala Harris to use the Freedom song. And then if you tie that into the fact that the Carters have an extensive history working with the Democratic Party, it is a little jarring. But I think that ties into what we're seeing overall with billionaires. In America right now, we're at a place where we have billionaires who are reevaluating their connection with the Democratic Party. And it's not for any good reason. It's for more so the fact that the Trump administration themselves are more pro-billionaire. The Trump administration is passing legislation like the quote-unquote big beautiful bill that is going to benefit people like the Carters. It's not going to benefit niggas like me and you, but it is going to give tax cuts to the Carters. So them aligning with the Trump administration and the Kushners is not that shocking to me because even though the Carters are black, they do see themselves as capitalists first. Jay Z himself has already talked about the fact that he feels as though people use capitalists as a pejorative against him. And if you look at the way that Jay Z carries himself and the fact that he updates his network every couple of days, you know that he genuinely does care about wealth and the power that wealth gives him. Even though Beyoncé is the quieter of both of them, Beyoncé obviously benefits, and she benefits from the wealth and access that she gets. Even though a lot of people feel apprehensive and feel uncomfortable with the picture, if you really look at it through the lens of capitalism, it makes perfect sense. The second thing I want to talk about is the Zionist aspect of it. This also ties into the fact that Jay Z has been trying to build this fucking casino in the middle of Times Square. It doesn't make sense to me and it doesn't make sense to you. But to Jay Z, it makes sense. He wants to go ahead and build a casino in an extremely congested area. An area that most New Yorkers are saying don't build there. And he's been receiving a lot of backlash in regards to that. So if you think about how politics are currently working in America, the Democratic Party is currently going through its own little civil war over whether or not the party should still align with billionaires or if the party needs to fight against the oligarchy. So if you have somebody like Zohran Mamdani in New York who's anti-oligarchy and anti-billionaire, obviously Jay-Z is then going to have to work with the Trump administration because the Democratic base is anti-billionaire and anti-oligarchy. The Republican base and the Republican Party is more accepting of billionaires like the Carters. That damn casino.
Let's get started.
So the Kushners at the table, obviously, are Zionists. If you didn't know, the Kushners, which is Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump, are very proud Zionists. Jared Kushner was directly associated with the Abraham Accords that happened in Trump 1, that sadly led to October 7th, which therefore led to the genocide in Gaza. So the Carters associating with Kushner, somebody that is currently working out negotiations to build beachfront property in Gaza, is sick. It is very sick. And especially because the Carters have not been outspoken about Palestine. Jay Z himself has not really, I haven't seen anything about Jay Z supporting Palestine, and I haven't seen anything substantive about Beyoncé supporting Palestine. So you have these two individuals who have a lot of power and a lot of access, who aren't using their power and access to try to hold the Kushners accountable for condoning a genocide. In regards to Jared Kushner, for escalating some of the tensions that we saw between Israel and Palestine. And even though I say all of that, I do want to be honest. I'm not that shocked, because Roc Nation, which is Jay Z by extension, has had a favorable relationship with Zionism in America. The co-CEO of Roc Nation is an alleged Zionist, and after October 7th posted that he was fully supporting Israel. Also, Roc Nation has been pretty adamant about their support of Israel and the Stop Anti-Semitism movement. And even though anti-Semitism is real, people are trying to use this as a way to stop any dissent or stop any criticism of Israel and their genocide in Gaza. So you have Roc Nation as an entity, as a corporation, aligning themselves with the greater Israel movement. So seeing Jay Z and Beyoncé sitting across from the Kushners is not that shocking if you look at it in totality with what Roc Nation has already done on behalf of the greater Israel movement.
Let's get started.
So now let's go ahead and talk about some of the history between Roc Nation, Jay Z, and MAGA and Donald Trump. So in 2021, when Donald Trump was plotting out the whole insurrection, terrorist attack against America, he had time to pardon Desiree Perez. And Desiree Perez, if you don't know, is the co-CEO of Roc Nation. This was also around the time that he pardoned Kodak Black and Lil Wayne. And because Desiree Perez is more behind the scenes and isn't as public as Lil Wayne and Kodak Black, she didn't get that much pushback. And Roc Nation, by extension, did not get that much pushback. So sometimes you'll see arguments about Lil Wayne getting pushback or Kodak Black getting pushback, but not Desiree Perez. And it's probably because she's more behind the scenes. So now let's go ahead and talk about another connection that MAGA has had to Roc Nation and Jay Z, which is Alex Sparrow. Alex Sparrow is Jay Z and Megan Thee Stallion's Olivia Pope. But he's also the Olivia Pope for a lot of other individuals associated with MAGA. One of them being Elon Musk. And I say that to say there's been multiple connections between the Carters, Roc Nation, and MAGA. Even with me saying all of this, I don't know if this is going to become anything tangible, because there's a lot of individuals in society that are careerists and they benefit from being closely aligned with the Carters. So they don't want to go ahead and step on their toes. And so maybe there's nothing that comes out of this. I don't know if the Carters are going to be really held accountable by either their fans or hip hop media. Instead, niggas are probably just going to come to their own conclusions and deal with what they got to deal with.
Let's get started.
Now that we've discussed some of the connections between the Carters as well as MAGA and Donald Trump, let's go ahead and have a conversation about the stan aspect of this. I understand that a lot of stans are eager to make this a stan issue. And I think that just fits within normal human behavior. Everybody wants to go into their silos. Everybody wants to use this as a moment to point out the hypocrisy. But I really need people to be honest and serious about this. I don't care if your fave is Nicki Minaj, Drake, Taylor Swift, Jesus Christ, Pope Leo. I don't care. What I do care about is the fact that there are conversations happening about this. So I may not agree with the conclusion that certain individuals come to about who is MAGA and who is not MAGA, or how they got to those conclusions, but at least those conversations are being had. Because we as fans, we as stans need to hold these individuals accountable for the fact that they benefit from the labor that we produce. We're the ones going to work and putting in 8 hours and 10 hours and 12 hours and using that money to show up to these shows and buy their merch and buy their albums and their products. We have to hold them accountable because they're benefiting from the support and the money that we provide to them. So again, I understand it's very easy to jump into your silo, but please understand, you as an individual in America right now are dealing directly with the negative impacts of Donald Trump's presidency. Donald Trump is fucking up our lives. He is taking money from us and he is giving it to himself and to his billionaire friends like the Carters. So the Carters may not be publicly visible in these pictures where you have Donald Trump sitting with Mark Zuckerberg or sitting with Tim Cook or sitting with Elon Musk. They may not be there, but they're still benefiting from the fact that they're capitalists and billionaires in a society that is built to benefit them and not benefit people like me and you. Now, I know I am being so delulu right now. I am being so delulu because I genuinely want a lot of stands to put themselves first at this moment and think about how the decisions that their faves make impact them, especially when it comes to politics.
Let's get started.
Now, let's go ahead and talk about some of the contradictory stand defenses that I've seen in regards to this. On one hand, you have hashtag Black Excellence Trademark Twitter telling us that we shouldn't really look that much into the seating arrangement because it could all be accidental, which is crazy because niggas act as though that the Carters are omnipresent and that they can do any and everything, but all of a sudden they can't rearrange their seating arrangements. And then on the other hand, you have Stan saying actually the Carters did want this because the Carters wanted a network. That's a fucking problem. The fact that the Carters are okay with aligning themselves with fascists in order to network Nazis and Zionists for a fucking deal. I'm also seeing the defense that I mentioned up front that Beyoncé has worked with the Democrats and Kamala Harris, so therefore she can't be a Republican and she therefore can't be affiliated with the Trump administration at all. But I've already debunked that at the beginning of the video because even if she is a Democrat or even if she ascribes to leftist politics, does it really matter that she's a liberal on paper if she's willing to go ahead and throw all of those beliefs away to sit across from the Kushners so her husband allegedly could get a casino? Like, do any of those morals or any of those liberal politics matter if she's willing to sit across from the Kushners who are enabling a genocide in Gaza and are also enabling fascism in America? Good luck, America.
0, 1. Let's get started.
So in the end, if you're a fan of any of the individuals I've discussed in this video, please understand that you need to put yourself first because we are the ones that are being directly impacted by Donald Trump's America, not these rich billionaires and millionaires. So if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. I'll go ahead and review them. And as mentioned, I am working on a larger project, so I'll probably go ahead and expand on some of my thoughts in regards to your questions and comments in that video as well. If you're interested in more conversations about the intersections between politics and hip hop, please go ahead and subscribe to my channel.